Hi everybody and welcome to lesson 3. This week we are talking about self-criticism and self-compassion and really the differences between the two. And so what I want to do is start off this week with a little experiment. I would like for you to think about a time recently or maybe in the recent past where you experienced a failure, or perhaps it was some sort of rejection. Or maybe it was some sort of personal attack and you felt shame. I'd like for you to just recall that experience and take the opportunity to think about what you said to yourself about yourself. What kind of mental chatter went on when you were experiencing this failure, rejection, or personal attack? I'm going to share with you a story. A couple of weeks ago, I had attempted to put myself fully out there. I am a big believer in really, truly honoring and living my soul's purpose, my soul mission. And a couple of weeks ago, I really, truly put myself out there. And I experienced rejection. And this rejection really took me down for a good couple of hours. And in that moment, in the very first moment of rejection, I said things to myself like, oh, you're so stupid. Why would you even do this? Why would you even attempt to do this? Like, why are you pursuing something that really is just not, is this real? Like, is this your reality? Are you really trying to make this happen in your life? And so I started to really question myself, and I started to really say things to myself about myself that were not true. Like I said, you're stupid. Why would you do something like this? And those personal attacks, they don't feel good. And in that moment, literally in that moment, I went from a personal attack to self-compassion because of my training. So that personal attack literally did not last long. It was probably about a minute, maybe max, where I literally said those things to myself, like, you're so stupid, why would you do this? To literally going so quickly over to, no, you're not stupid. You went after something that was important to you. It was a goal of yours. And just because this person doesn't see this in you, or you can't have this in this moment of time, it doesn't mean that you're not on the right path. It doesn't mean that everything isn't working out in your favor, okay? So what I want you to do is really truly think about those times when you are attacking yourself. And the reason I want to bring this up is because it is so important for us to understand what self-criticism does. And that's what this week's lesson is all about. Self-criticism. Neuroscientists have done tons of research, and psychologists have really looked into the brains. They've done MRIs to look at what is going on with our brains when we are criticizing ourselves, and what happens with people who are perhaps maybe trying to diet, maybe they're trying to reach a certain goal, maybe they are attempting to do something with education, their own education, and researchers have studied so many, hundreds and hundreds of people, and they have looked at the whole process of what their goal is to where they get within that goal. And they have found that those who were self-critical were a lot less likely to even finish any sort of program. Those who were self-critical would oftentimes just completely give up, whereas those who had more self-compassion with themselves would actually finish the program and they would reach their goal. Maybe it would take them longer, but maybe they would have setbacks along the way. But those who had self-compassion would finish. They would reach their goal. And those who had self-criticism and were really, really strong with personal attacks, oftentimes it just simply took them longer to reach their goal, sometimes 3 times as long, or most of them, unfortunately, would altogether give up on their goal. Now, what I want you to do is just kind of go back to any sort of failure, rejection, or a personal attack that you have felt recently. And I would like for you to take a moment to think about a way that you could talk to yourself that is compassionate. And perhaps think about a way that you would talk to your younger self, or even if you're a parent, how would you talk to your child? How would you portray to them that they're okay and that part of life is attempting things and sometimes even failing at those things, but we are to get up again and try again. So I'd like for you just to really take a moment and see, based on that experience, what feels more normal to you? Does the self-criticism feel normal to you, or does the self-compassion feel normal to you? Honestly, since we are such critical human beings and our brains, we talked about this in the last lesson, our brains love to figure out problems, and our brains also love to pick out what is wrong with the scenario. So when we have a brain that is more apt to look at what is wrong, we do have a brain that has more of a tendency to attack ourselves rather than be compassionate. So if you find that attacking yourself and being self-critical seems more normal to you, don't let that deter you away from understanding that this is a process of evolution. This is a process of really truly beginning to understand what works for human behavior and what does not work. And what does not work is self-attack and self-criticism. And research has shown this time and time again, that those people who attack themselves are oftentimes less motivated to even begin something, and they also have less control. Self-control. They have less control over themselves and over their attempts to even do anything, because they just feel like they're not going to be able to do it anyways, and they just don't have the motivation to even begin. Now, on a flip side, the people who really begin to understand self-compassion, they are more apt to go after their goals. They're more apt to attempt to go after big, huge goals, because they understand that they're trying, they're showing up every single day. And if they fail, if they have a setback, it doesn't say anything about who they are. It just says something about the process that maybe the process they were going about wasn't the best process. So there's a couple of components when it comes to self-compassion and self-criticism. What we need to understand is that with self-criticism, what we're literally doing is putting on a straitjacket, and that part of our brain that is being attacked, whether it's by ourselves or by another person, is the same area of our brain that regulates self-inhibition, that part of our brain that shuts us down and it makes us stop. Okay, so when we're self-critical or when somebody attacks us, we have a moment where we stop because we're afraid. And that moment where we begin to just kind of stop and we turn inwards and we just freeze, that is our body really just kind of trying to stop everything and protect ourselves. And when we do that, we don't move forward. Okay, so self-criticism does the very thing that we don't want it to do. It prevents us from moving forward. So I'd like for you to just to take a moment and think about your bad habits. Any bad habit that you have, whether it is procrastination, maybe it's a shopping addiction, maybe you turn to food for comfort. Maybe it's an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction. Maybe you are a control freak. Maybe you're a worrywart. Maybe you are driven and controlled by fear. Now here's the thing. All of our bad habits, all of them, are usually an attempt to make us feel better about something, okay? So when we are attacking ourselves, it's kind of a catch-22, because what we're doing is attacking ourselves, and when we feel bad, we want to turn to that thing for comfort and to make ourselves feel better. But that thing that we're turning to for comfort is the thing that we don't want to be doing. So our bad habits and our stress around all of it is really like a catch-22. So if you can look at that as self-criticism is one of the things that is going to actually drive you towards doing the thing that you don't want to be doing, that puts a new spin on it, it puts a new perspective on it, and it makes you go, wow, okay, when I beat myself up or when I am critical with myself, I'm actually kind of flicking the switch to do the thing that I don't want to be doing. So I was recently researching a study of neuroscientists and psychologists, and what they were studying was a group of hundreds of people over the course of this 20-year period. And some of them was a 10-year, some of them was a 5-year period. And what they were looking at is those people who were critical or compassionate. And those people who some people had a weight loss goal, some people had a fitness goal, some people had an educational goal, some people had new business goals. And what they found is those people who were more self-critical had a tendency to take longer to reach their goal, and those who had a tendency to be really self-critical sometimes would even give up altogether on that goal. Now, on the flip side, the people who were more compassionate towards themselves and they understood that setbacks and failures were simply just part of the human process were much more likely to reach their goals and also a lot quicker. Okay, so that's pretty important information to really truly understand that our lives and our ability to understand that we're just simply human and we're gonna mess up, we're gonna have failures, we're gonna have setbacks, and the important thing is to really just truly understand that rather than to beat ourselves up and to attack ourselves. Because when we do that, what we're doing is we're literally activating the parts of our brain that shut us down, and they do not elicit any sort of change. Neuroscientists have researched the brain, and they found that when somebody is being self-critical, it activates the part of the brain that shuts you down, and it's a self-inhibition. So it literally shuts you down, and what it does not do is turn on the areas of the brain that keep your goals in mind, that know what the bigger picture is. It actually shuts that area of the brain down and turns on the area of the brain that is more into self-preservation and making you kind of stop and not do anything. So one of the things to understand is that the more critical you are to yourself over the course of your lifetime, the more you are going to shut down, and also the angrier you're gonna become, because you're gonna start to feel that you're the type of person who can't change. You're gonna start to self-attack, and you're gonna feel like the kind of person you are is flawed. And it's not the truth. That is just simply not the truth, because we are all always ebbing and flowing. We're never fixed, we're never solid, we're never done. Who we are is a process of really understanding human behavior. And every single day we're brand new. Every single day we get to wake up and start again and try again and attempt all of our goals all over again. We're never fixed, we're never done, we're never solid. It's just a process of becoming who we want to be. So when you attack yourself, you really inhibit yourself. But when you understand that you're human and that you get to give this process of just common humanity and self-awareness and self-love to yourself, you begin to really truly let go of this sense of a fixed self and you being a certain way that is not changeable. Because every single day that you wake up, you have the ability to go after your goals and go after your dreams. And the world is open to you. Once again, it's open, the universe is abundant, and you get to put your best foot forward every single day. Now, the key is, the more you realize this, the more you begin to understand that, the process of moving forward towards a goal it's a journey, and it's actually a really beautiful journey. We get to wake up every day and take the steps and realizing that not every day is going to be perfect. Not every choice is going to be perfect. And not every thought is going to be perfect. But what we need to do is really just have this bigger picture of what it is we do want and have compassion towards ourselves every single day. Now, if you are in a place where you are really self-critical and you just don't have a lot of self-compassion towards yourself, that's where we need to begin. And what we're going to begin to do is understand 3 key components to change. 3 key components to having self-compassion. So the 3 components to self-compassion that we really truly need to understand are mindfulness, common humanity, and self-kindness. So when we experience any sort of setback or any sort of failure or any sort of attack, what we need to understand is, first and foremost, we need to be mindful. What did we do? What was the reality of what we did? Okay, and then to sit in that reality and to sit in that truth, understanding what it is we did do. What choices did we make? What led us to make those choices? And to really sit with that instead of being self-critical, to just be mindful. That's it, just be mindful. The second part of that is common humanity. Common humanity really just means that we are human. And when we are human, we understand that we make mistakes because everybody makes mistakes. And when we understand common humanity and we give that common humanity to ourselves, we can just say, you know what? I honor you. I respect you because you are doing the best you can with what you knew in that moment. And then number 3 is self-kindness. And self-kindness is different than when you were like, oh, I'm going to go shopping, I'm going to get a pedicure, I'm going to take a bubble bath. Self-kindness is really understanding that common humanity aspect and saying, okay, I understand that I'm a human, that I'm going to make mistakes. And I also understand that I have goals and I have things that I want to achieve. And when I put myself on the path of going towards those things that I want to be doing, I'm going to experience failure sometimes. But the key is I'm doing it. And I'm going after my goals and I'm going after my dreams. And that is where you have self-kindness. Because when you really honor and you respect yourself, you're going to begin to honor and respect your journey. This is probably not hard to believe, but the people who have more self-compassion, they have a tendency to be much more relaxed in life. They have a tendency to feel more connected to others. And when we remember that we are just human and we have this innate need to feel connected to others, and that we all of us are looking for meaning in life. We're all having this desire to feel connected, to be understood, to feel loved. And when we know this, that it's all of us, it's much more easy to live this life. It's much more easy to be compassionate towards yourself because you have this understanding of common humanity. When you just have knowledge that we're all human, we all are trying to be understood, and that we all want to feel connected, then you just have this innate understanding that when we do fail, it's okay. And we're not flawed. We're not a flawed human being because we failed. So I'd like for you to take a moment and sit in a reflection or some sort of writing exercise or a meditation and look back on your life, your childhood, and your experiences. And I want you to figure out where self-criticism may have started in your life. Because when you can identify where it began and who it got started from, you can begin to take the layers off that don't serve you. Because when you understand that self-compassion is more effective than self-criticism, you can begin to forgive those people who may have been really critical or very, very demanding on you as a human, or as a child or as a teenager. And you can begin to forgive them and to be able to let those old stories go. In the yoga community and in the meditation community, there is a very, very common meditation called a cord cutting meditation. So if you're experiencing any sort of ill feelings about somebody of your past who may have been really hard on you, I would like for you to sit in a visual meditation and bring that person to mind. And I want you to experience compassion for them. Maybe for the way that they were raised or how people treated them in their youth that made them be the way they were towards you. And then what I want you to do is forgive them and then literally, visually, mentally cut the cord between the two of you. Release them and forgive them, because that will release you from the whole aspect of being controlled by this old story. All right, so some of the key takeaways that I'd like for you to understand about this lesson this week are that you are a co-creator for your life, that you really, truly have power to create the life that you want, and know that you're never stuck, you're never a problem, you are never a lost cause, because every single day you have the ability to look at yourself with awareness, mindfulness, this common humanity, and self-kindness. And you're able to look at yourself with compassion, with love, and with understanding and say, okay, here's what I did. Here's what I would rather do. Here's how I would rather behave. Here's the life I would rather have. And you can begin to put that into place. And when you look at it simply with awareness and compassion, you're much more likely to just literally be your own best friend. And that's what we're here for. We're really, really here. This whole program, I want you to begin to have self-love, self-compassion, and literally be your own best friend. Because when you're your best friend, you treat yourself like you would treat your best friend. And if you don't have a lot of friends, or if you don't have a best friend, I want you to think about how you would have wanted to be treated when you were a small child. Or if you're a parent and you have a child, how do you treat them when they're learning something new? You don't attack them. You don't say, damn it, you really suck. You failed at riding the bike. Are you ever going to get it? You keep falling off. You just wouldn't do that. You wouldn't attack them like that. You would encourage them. You would be loving, and you would say loving things to them to get them to really truly believe in themselves and to try again. And that's what I want you to do for yourself, because that is the key component to change, is self-awareness, being your own best friend, and having self-compassion. So one of the last things that I would like to discuss with you is how the yoga tradition looks at suffering and the process that we humans tend to go through when we want to stop suffering, we want to escape it. What we have a tendency to do is completely want to avoid it altogether. Many people do not ever look at their suffering. Many people do not ever even want to look into any sort of past suffering or anything that they have done that made them feel guilty or made them feel shame or made them feel bad. And when we have this tendency to escape, we actually kind of grow roots that make those bad habits and those escaping mechanisms and those numbing out tendencies to grow roots. So one of the things that I really, really want you to take away and understand is that if there's any sort of suffering that has gone on in your life, it is so critical that you sit in a safe space to be able to look at it with grace and compassion and just personal understanding, okay? Because if you don't look at it, it's going to have you in a headlock for the rest of your life. So what I want you to do is really begin to cultivate self-awareness around what your trigger is and when it's activated. And those triggers, I want you to sit with them in a complete self-awareness meditation, maybe even go for a walk or just do a breathing exercise that's going to help you to sit with it rather than try to escape it. Sit with it rather than turn to food for comfort or turn to shopping. Or here's another one, and this is easy. When maybe it's work and we have something big that we want to do, but we would much rather do something else because the task at hand is just too big. So we procrastinate. That's another way. Here's another huge one. Controlling behaviors. Why do you feel the need to control? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid is going to happen? So you feel this need to control all of the people around you to make you feel better. Why? You got to sit with it. You got to look at this stuff. Otherwise, you're never going to grow past it. And it's going to continue to have you in a headlock for the rest of your life. So the key component here is to really build this self-awareness and start to have this understanding and self-compassion, because when you do, these things are going to start to lose their grip on you, and you're gonna begin to just simply have self-awareness. And self-awareness is your key to transformation.